Alright, next up is Q Bert, which is a remake and reimagining of the classic arcade game. And this was originally released back on PlayStation 1 in 1999, and then later in 2000 was ported to the Sega Dreamcast with a updated remake, which basically meant just updated visuals. Now, when I popped this game in at first, I was having such a hard time with it, because if you can't tell from the gameplay here, the game is shown at a isometric view. So at first I was having a really hard time being able to determine, if I pressed this direction on the D-pad, which way would Q Bert jump? And I was just dying over and over because of silly mistakes because of this. And then I went to the options to look at the controller layout, and I noticed that they were holding the Dreamcast controller at an angle. So I was like, well, that makes sense, let me try that. So I just tried playing the game holding the Dreamcast controller at an angle. It was a little bit uncomfortable, but then all of a sudden it clicked and I got used to it, and I was playing the game with no problems and having such a blast with it. So yes, to play this game as easy as possible, you're supposed to hold the controller at an angle, as weird as that may sound, but it does make sense. And the basic concept behind the game is to simply avoid the enemies that the game throws at you. They're jumping and bouncing all over the level, and some of them are pursuing you, some of them just simply fall down the level. And you have to jump on the top of the blocks to change them to the designated color for that level. So you start off the level and all the blocks may be green, and you have to step on every single one of them to change them to, say, pink. And some enemies will actually change the color of the blocks back to the original color if they step on them, so you want to be sure to get rid of those enemies as quickly as you can. I do also want to mention that I'm a big fan of the graphical update that they did to the game. It's very colorful, and not only that, but it pairs very well with the quirky music and sound effects. The sounds that the enemies and characters make in the game are just really strange, but it all just works because Q Bert himself is just an odd character, and the whole concept of the game is just strange, so you put it all together and it makes a really nice package. In the time that I spent with the game, I was only able to play one game mode, and that's Adventure Mode. Unfortunately, it seemed like the other game modes were locked until you beat Adventure Mode, which can take quite a bit of time. Now, keep in mind, I was playing on easy so that I had the most amount of lives, and all it really did was just decrease the amount that I can get my high score to. Now, I do want to mention that the level designs in the game are pretty varied, and the enemy patterns that it throws at you in each level are pretty unique as well. And towards the end of World 4 that I was on, things were getting to be pretty hectic and very challenging and fun. Q Bert for me is an easy recommendation for anybody that's a fan of classic arcade games or the original Q Bert itself. Or if you just think the game looks fun just based on watching the gameplay that I've shown you guys, I urge you to check it out. It's cheap and easy to find, so try it out if you can.